presented tonight and vote in just a minute. Last week we did Sunday morning again and went through this 17 periods worth of part of it. And the scripture finally goes with it. Think about memorizing this stuff and know where it is. So our first the first 5 periods were 17 periods. It doesn't actually come under 17 to talk about that. See, we break it into the 17 periods, it's the narrative of the Bible. The first 5 periods then, full of flood, scattered the people, patriarchs, and then the big Exodus. With the next 5 minutes. So where are these? What's the text that talks about these? Well, before the flood, there's the first, 5 chapters of Genesis. So we have 5 chapters, Genesis 1 through 5, talks about the period of the flood. And the flood's the next time. So 10 was the next 5 chapters. 5 chapters, 5 chapters. And then the scattered the people, our Babylon, that part, is then how many chapters? 1. One chapter there. So 1 through 5, 6 through 10, then chapter 11. And then the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and then the story of Joseph, covers what? The rest of the Genesis, 12 through 15. We got 4 periods covering the book of Genesis. Got that? Now, it says Sunday in heaven if you know your book, the Old Testament. This is Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, like that. And we're going to go kind of in order here for a while. So, Exodus is going to be the book of Exodus, obviously. It covers Exodus, Leviticus, and the first 13 chapters of the book of Numbers. All 3 of those we get the Exodus, getting out of Egypt, down to the Red Sea, and the Canaan story. That was 5. Okay? So then the next 5 periods, all of that, are the wandering in the wilderness, basic conquest, the judges, and the 4 periods, United Kingdom. That's where we are out there now. So it goes up. We left off with Numbers 1 through 13, so we get the rest of the book of Numbers, 1 through 36, Deuteronomy, and the first part of the book of Joshua. Covers the wandering in the wilderness. Of which they're ready to go in and conquer the land. And who was the most primary sign for them to conquer the land? That's Joshua. So most of the book of Joshua covered the actual basic conquest of the land. So Joshua 4 to 24.
A little bit overlap, chapter 5, 4 and 5 overlap through there. All right, Deuteronomy, Joshua, what's the next book? Judges, and obviously the period of the Judges. The Judges, it's also Judges, Ruth, and the very first part of 1 Samuel, up to chapter 8, where they ask for a king. Saul's anointed privately in chapter 9, so really the kingdom started in chapter 10. So Judges kind of covers up Judges, Ruth, and the first 9 chapters of 1 Samuel. And then we're in the United Kingdom now. It picks up the rest of 1 Samuel, all of 2 Samuel, first part of 1 Kings. 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, first part of 1 Kings. Then we have a little twist to it here. Over in Chronicles, 1 Chronicles 10 through 2 Chronicles chapter 9, there's a parallel story about the same time period. So we got a dual listing of scriptures there. So that kind of gets us up to where we are. And we'll add the rest of these in here if we get a little time later on. So look at where we are here. We have Saul, David, and Solomon in this time frame. We just talked about 1 Samuel. Saul is pretty much 1 Samuel 10 through 31, the book of 1 Samuel. David is all the book of 2 Samuel. And then Solomon gets into 1 Kings, the first 11 chapters. Then we got the parallel that goes with 1 Chronicles 10, 1 Chronicles 11 through 29, and then the first few chapters of 2 Chronicles for Solomon. So get these in your mind where this stuff is found. So we're to turn at these periods we got there. We haven't got on the chart, but we also now can start putting some pretty reasonable times with it. Saul pretty much reigned from 1040 to 1000 BC. 40 years for Saul, 1040 to 1000. David, 1000 to 960, and then 960 to about 920. So the time frames here. So about 1,000 years before Christ is all about here. Okay, let's get into our lesson tonight. Tonight we're in 1 Samuel, starting in chapter 25. 1 Samuel 25. got 3 chapters to cover tonight, so we'll go through these and then talk about some applications at the end, like we usually do. Try to. First part is Samuel dies. We'll cover that just very briefly. Then the story of David and Nabal and Abigail, and then David's in the next chapter is going to spare Saul's life for a second time. He's already done it once, but he cut his robe off in the cave. And then David's going to go back to Philistia, the Philistine territory, Philistia, get away from Saul, like he's already done one time before also. That's in chapter 27. So let's look at this. So Samuel is, I think, quite a prominent figure in the history of Israel here. He was a prophet, he was a priest, he was a judge, and Samuel dies. I want you to notice how much space is given in the text here to Samuel's death. What you see? Look again. What's in the last part of that verse? About David. So less than one verse. Now, that's no big deal, I guess. It's kind of caught my attention. Less than one verse is talking about Samuel's death. Samuel died. They buried him in his hometown, Ramah. We looked at him about lots of times. And all Israel mourned about Samuel's passing. And that's all it said about Samuel's death. It's great, great person we have here in their history. He's very much involved with him all these years. He died. They buried him in his hometown. They mourned for him. That was it. So the last part of the verse picks up and talks about David. David leaves En Gedi. And we looked at that in quite a bit of detail Sunday with the video we looked at. And he moves down to the wilderness of Paran. So let's get a map up here. I'll look at that a little bit. So here's En Gedi on the edge of the Sea of Galilee, of the Dead Sea. We looked at that video and saw that Sunday, the barren land with the water there and just this big spring. We didn't get it. But then David is down here in the wilderness of Paran, way down to the south. And it's really desolate, barren land down here. Here they call the Negev, dry, sort of barren. So David's moving down way to the south, southwest out here. While we're on this map, there's like 2 more cities. It's hard to see them on my screen there, maybe. Maon, we looked at before. That's been our story already. And the city of Carmel is here. They're going to be in play in this next section here with Nabal and Abigail, his wife Abigail. So Maon and Carmel. One more map of the wilderness of Paran. Let's go back up here. All right. When you talk about the land of Israel, you want to talk about the entire land. There's a saying that names 2 cities, from what to what? From Dan to Beersheba. The very top is Dan, what's way off our map, way up the top of that. Down to Beersheba. Here's Beersheba. So we're going, David is down even below what's already talked about for the territory of Israel here. So keep in mind where Beersheba is. Let's go this map here. Well, here's Beersheba way up here. But David's was Paran's way down here, where David's going. So way down south of where he's been. Okay. There's a man that lives in Maon, that's the people that showed you the map, and it's Nabal. He has some business up in Carmel, which is not that far distance from there. He's up there. Very wealthy man. He's got, to say, 3,000 sheep, 1,000 goats, or something like that, I think, if I remember right. But he's also a very harsh and really an evil man. We'll see if we go through the story here. He was pretty much a rascal like this. His wife is Abigail. A couple of things said about her. One was she's very beautiful, very attractive, and she was also, I think one of the texts said, discerning. She got some wisdom to her. We'll see that as we go through here tonight. Very beautiful and intelligent. So Nabal is up in Carmel with his sharing the sheep. 3,000 sheep, share the sheep. He's got his people gathered up there. And it's generally a time of feasting and festival. All the people, the shepherds meet together. They're going to share their sheep and everything. So David sends a delegation of about, I think it's 10 men, if I remember right, up to visit Nabal. Well, what's David been doing? Why did these men go see Nabal? What's David been doing for Nabal's people? He's been protecting them. And when David starts talking to them, you're going to see, he said, they were a wall between Nabal's shepherds and any danger around them. They helped protect these shepherds all this time. So David sent a delegation up there and said, look, we know it's time you're shearing your sheep, you've got the sheep together, you're killing the sheep, you're feasting, you're making a festival. We need something to eat. David's got 600 men with him. We already talked about we'd like to try to feed 600 men on a regular basis. So he wants to get some payback, if you will, for his kindness. He's something like that. Now, remember this too. This would fit right into David's life. David spent a lot of his life with a shepherd. He would know what was going on at sheep shearing time. He'd know what it's like to protect the sheep, protect the flocks out there from danger. So, 3 points we're going to make here. While David was in the wilderness, obviously to feed 600 men would be a struggle. Okay? So he could have gone up there to Nabal's flock and probably take anything he wanted. It was after all, they had a war already. So that's what David could have done. Apparently, without even being asked, what David did do was provide protection for the shepherds out there. So, what David could have done, and this is what he really did. He was nice to them, protected them, helped them out. Now we get this guy, Nabal. Instead of giving the kindness back and giving David's men something to eat for what they'd done for him, he was harsh and rude and said absolutely no way. So what Nabal didn't do was provide for him, repay kindness with kindness. And what he did do was turn him away hungry. So they go back to the men and tell them to do what? Pick up your guns, guys. We're going to battle. Strap on your swords, okay? And he said David put on his sword too. There, David, right or wrong, David is very vengeful here with the way Nabal treated him. So they put their swords on, they're ready to go, and one of the young men goes and tells Nabal's wife about it, Abigail. Well, as I said earlier, she's noted here as a wise, intelligent woman. So these messengers, when they go back tell her, they make a statement about Nabal. What do these messengers, Nabal's people, say about him? He's a scoundrel, and he cannot be reasoned with. Better say about me, I wonder. Probably. His head be going like this, and I'd be nice about it. Think about that. There's a guy they say can't be reasoned with. The guy it was. Let's hope they don't say that about us. So she grabs up 200 loaves of bread, some sheep that had already been prepared, and she gets the raisins, clutches the raisins. She goes to meet David. She's going to intercede where her husband had been ugly and harsh and nasty to David. She's going to get it and get the sweet from him. So she goes to David. She meets him. She bows down on the ground before him. And she talks about her husband, how sorry he really is. I thought of what she said, okay? And she talks about David. Okay? By the way, man, our wives need to intervene for us and show a little wisdom sometime, and we don't. Maybe. So she talks to David about not taking vengeance toward him. And David actually says in his reply that your coming here and doing this has been essentially a blessing of the Lord. I was about to go through something I shouldn't have done. And you kind of intervened for me, he was glad you did that. But give them the preparation. But there's also something down about verse 30 that she says about David. Notice that when we read through this? What does she say about David? She's talking to him. He's going to be the ruler over Israel. Did you notice that? Here's Abigail, how the word's getting out. How these people know this. But Saul's already told him. Jonathan's told him that. Saul's told him that. Now here's Abigail saying that you're going to be the ruler over Israel. So she gives all these presents to David, appeases him, he turns and goes back, does not go to fight with Nabal. But Abigail's not finished yet. Okay? She got to tell Nabal about what she's done. That's all he's turning back, right? When she gets back there, he's in this festival feasting mood, and what's wrong with him? Drink a lot of wine, and he's what? He just drunk, okay? He just drunk. So she picks not to tell him then. She waits till the next day when the wine's gone out of him, and she tells him what she's done. Okay? She's gone and taken care of David's people like that. That's the Nabal. Turned to a stone. I don't know if he had a heart attack, had a stroke, what it was. But he didn't die, not until 10 days later. But he just was sad. By a stone, he said. Died 10 days later when the Lord struck him dead. For his way he treated David. Now, Nabal out of the way, this beautiful, intelligent lady, there available. What does David do? To the delegation of men, Abigail. He tells her what? I'll be my wife. Okay. And she does very rapidly, it seems like. Already there. David has another wife he's married to, and he had a wife originally who was who? Michal, who was Saul's daughter, but David's been gone all this time. So Saul has given her to another man. I don't know if it's spite against David or just because she was there or what. He doesn't have Michal with him anymore. He will later on. He doesn't have Michal with him now. He has these two wives. So David got two wives out in the desert with him, 600 men, and apparently their families. You'll see here in a minute. So that finishes up chapter 25, the story of David, Nabal, Abigail, Nabal's death, and him marrying Abigail. So I got talks about that. Move to the next chapter. All right, 26. David's going to go into Saul again. We already know he's run into him one time in the cave when he did not take his life. He cut a piece of his robe off. So what he could have done, he didn't. So now he's going to run into him again. Second time it's happened. And again, these people of Ziph are involved in it. And David's been back in their territory. That's kind of in the area where Carmel was this time. And so they come back and again and tell Saul where David is. That's what they did before. And Saul takes 3,000 men, like that's the same number he used last time, if I remember right, and he's going down to try to find David and attack him again. So Saul is camped. And like you would think a king might be, the men are camped all around, and where's Saul? In the middle of it, which is very logical. You're going to protect the king. You put him in the middle of the camp, and you just surround him. So here's the men all around Saul, and they're sleeping. Saul is there, and Abner, who's man of his army, is there with Saul. So David asks for a volunteer, and Abishai volunteers to go with him. What are they going to do? They'll sneak in through all these people up there where Saul is. They're right in the middle of the camp of Saul. And go in there. And when they do, they could easily kill him over there. They get there, and what does the young man with David tell him when they found Saul there? Let me do what? Let me drive my spear through him. And what did he say? It won't take a second lick. He said, I'll give him the first lick, I'll drive it through him, and that's all it'll take. It will not take a second try. I'll drive my spear through him. But David had it. Can't do it. Can't do it. And here's why. Not permitted to stretch out our hand against the Lord's anointed. Same exact thing David said last time. Saul is a special person. Even though Saul been rejected, he's still the king. But David has respect for that. He will not kill him. Now, it's also said that they are all sleeping really, really well because why? The Lord put a sleep on them. Okay, they were not just like they snuck into camp, nobody saw them. The Lord had them sleeping in this deep sleep when they went into the camp and found Saul there. So, he doesn't want to kill him. Will not kill him. not let Abishai kill him. So what they take with them? They'll leave and go back, but they want some evidence they've been there. Take David's spear or sword, I think it's a spear, I think it's a spear, and the jug of water sitting there beside his head. Okay? They go back across the valley to the mountain where they were, away from them, they can't get to them. David calls out. Who's he call out to? Not to Saul to start with, but to picks on Abner. What's Abner's job? Take care of the king, okay? By the way, Abner, look what I've got in my hand here, okay? I got the spear and the jug of water was sitting right beside Saul's head. Abner, what have you been doing? You're doing your job. Okay? So when Saul hears the voice, he recognizes it as the voice of David. So he talks to him then as he wakes him up. And what Saul told him last time, when David called out to him, made the speech to him. Not this time, but he told him last time. What was Saul's reaction when he cut his piece of robe off? Wept. Right, wept. I won't come back and fight you again. I'm going to peace. I'm wrong. I should have done that. You haven't done anything to justify this. That's all David said last time. Saul said last time to David. And yet, here he is again. Okay, 3,000 men come down to try to find and kill David. What's it do this time? Same thing. Okay, just about the same thing. Again, he confesses that I was wrong. I should have treated you this way. You haven't done anything to deserve it. And David said, okay, here's your spear. Here's a jug of water. Send your young men over here. You have it. Take it back with you. I don't even want that. I'm not going to take that from you. Come get it and have it back. That's the second time that David easily could have killed Saul and refused to do it because of who Saul was. Whoops. As far as we know, Saul did not make any other attempts on David's life. This is the last time in the scriptures anything mentioned about it. Saul came back after David. Also, as far as the scriptures are concerned, the last time Saul and David would meet to talk. We're in chapter 26. A couple of chapters over here, Saul's going to be dead. As far as we know, this is the last encounter that Saul and David have with one another. It's here in chapter 26. Okay. All right, look at Psalm 63. Psalm 63 is written, as best I can tell, somewhere in this time frame. The slide here says, in our curriculum, we stick it in here between this chapter and the next one where David goes into Philistia. Don't know exactly the chronology of it, but it should fit in here. But seems to fit well in this time frame if you look at it. So very, very much like the other Psalms we've seen with David. Let's look at it right here. A couple of points I want to make about it as we go through it. Psalm 63. Oh God, you are my God. Early will I seek you. My soul thirsts for you. My flesh longs for you. Where? In a dry and thirsty land. That's where David's been. Down this wilderness, dry, desolate area down there, where there is no water. I look for you in the sanctuary to see your power and your glory. Because your loving kindness is better than life. My lips shall praise you. Thus I will bless you while I live. I'll lift up my hands in your name. My soul shall be satisfied with the marrow and fatness. My mouth shall praise you with joyful lips. The thing about where he is this next thing. David's down there, fighting during the daytime, or whatever he's out doing. Look what he thinks about God. I remember you on my bed. I meditate on you in the night watches. I go to bed, think about the Lord. You've been my help. In the shadow of your wings I will rejoice. My soul follows closely behind you. Your right hand upholds me. Those who seek my life to destroy it shall go down to the lower parts of the earth. They shall fall by the sword. It shall be a portion for Jacob. The king shall rejoice in God. Everyone who swears by him shall glory, but the mouth of those who speak lies shall be stopped. So, there's the phrases in there that kind of point to where David might be, the dry, thirsty land, laying down at night, thinking about that. Okay. Okay, we got one more chapter to look at. We have 3 tonight. Short piece here. David obviously doesn't trust Saul, but this is that he's not going to bother him anymore. Saul may just his confession, David, I should have not bothered you, I should have let you alone, all this stuff. Just like last time, David didn't go back home because Saul said, I'm not going to bother you anymore. So David again leaves and goes over to the Philistine territory. Now, we said last time because Saul was not going to go into the Philistine territory looking for David. He's not going to go there and crank up a battle with the Philistines called David. So David goes back there this time, back over to Gath, to Achish, the king, and takes the 600 men with him. And if you notice there, I don't know which verse it is, but David said it takes the household and David's 2 wives over there. It's like they just move over there, literally, into the land of the Philistines. To Gath, area of Gath. So all are going to come get him there. So after he's been there a little while, he talks to Achish and says, I'm here with you, I'm helping you out, I've run some battles for you. We need a place to live. Don't give me your city here, Gath, that's your capital city. But give me one of the country cities, one of the country towns out there. So he gives him the city of Ziklag to go live in the city. And he stays over there for about almost a year and a half, Philistine territory. So, now, we'll look at the map in a minute and see where that is. While he's there, he runs these raids without on raiding parties or raiding adventures or missions out there. And it goes with the Gergesites, the Girzites, and the Amalekites. Amalekites had been destroyed already back in 1 Samuel 15, remember? But they weren't. We go in, and when David would go there to fight with these countries or these nations, he'd wipe them out. Didn't have no evidence, left everybody alive. Nobody could tell who came and did it, where he had been. Wipe them out, take all the spoil back with it. Now, Achish, king of the Philistines, thinks David is doing what? Helping him out, right? And we're going to say it on the screen here in a minute. He thinks he's helping him out, but go out and doing his battles for him. What really should have happened to these nations already that David's fighting against? They should have been wiped out when? Back when they first came into the land, right? To wipe them out then, they would have to mess with them. They didn't do it. When Saul should have gotten the Amalekites again in chapter 15. They didn't do that. But David's going out there really, he's getting rid of these people. It's going to be a problem. Him and his territory, his kingdom when it comes to that. No. He's not being totally honest with the king, Achish here. Now here's Ziklag. We're back up now in the part of where we've been before. Here's En-Gedi over here, that's Maon and Carmel. Here's Ziklag, right on the edge of the Philistine and the Israelite territory. The mountain ranges here. So they're out of the foothills of the mountains. So it starts open back off there. So there's Ziklag a little bit. So David runs these raids, if you will, all down to the south. Just these nations down there. And then when he comes back to talk to Achish, he's pretty vague about where he's been and what he's done. Giving the whole story seems like that. About who he's raiding against. Again, like I said, there's no witnesses to talk about it. And that's kind of what David spent his time doing in the Philistine territory. So that Saul won't bother him. Run these raids out, leading the people out of the country that he thinks is gone for his kingdom later on. And remember the phrase we looked at a couple of chapters back before David went on his missions? He would do what? Inquire of God, inquire of the Lord, inquire of the Lord, inquire of the Lord. Listen to that. If you flip through several pages here, you don't see that anymore. When it picks back up, we'll see a whole lot more later on. David inquire of the Lord over and over and over and over. a little gap here. So we don't know now whether David is doing these missions under God's direction or if he's just out there doing it. There's no indication that he's talking to the Lord about it. Yes, sir. Yeah. She came to him. He was about to do something he really shouldn't have done. And he gives her credit for stopping him from doing that. Yeah, it does that. It's almost like there's a, as far as what's recorded, a gap in David's connection with the Lord here. Don't know that, but if it doesn't say all through there, he's part of the Lord. So, what I talked about is, and the little phrase here, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. That's kind of what the king of Philistine was thinking about. David's his enemy. He's out fighting against the Philistine and against the Israelites. He thinks, okay, against his own people. Therefore, he must be our friend. Okay, we've got a couple applications for us here. We'll go back again, the same point I made before. I'm going to spend a lot of time on this and talk about a whole lot, I guess, this Sunday, about our attitude toward civil government. And David's attitude toward Saul, and what he would not do to Saul because he was God's appointed king. There's a lesson there for us, and we've talked about that some already. How we should treat the rulers, how we should pray for the rulers. They're in position of authority, Romans 13, because who put them there? Because God put them there. Okay. So even though they're evil, think about the New Testament time. This is Paul writing in Romans here. What kind of conditions was Paul living in the New Testament time? Roman oppression, persecution of the Jewish leaders, Nero in control in Rome, very difficult times. We don't see Paul talking bad about the civil authority. So we be careful what we say. All of us. Anybody else on that point? Comments? Anybody? Okay, we mentioned this earlier too. The thing about Abigail. Elias' wife. If it had not been for her, what would David done to Nabal and his people up there? He was going to do the same thing to them. Had been doing these raiding parties later in the next chapter, or 2 chapters later. He's going up there and need to clean the house. David comes back, and men reported to him, strap on your sword, we're going to battle. He was all up there and clean things up. Instead, she brought the wisdom into it. She said, talk about how bad her husband is, what kind of approach he is, what kind of person he is, and she intervened. Not only to keep him alive for the time, but also to stop David from doing something he shouldn't have done. So sometimes yeah, because when Nabal speaks there, what does he say? Who is David? Who's this prince in Israel? He starts asking these questions now. Brady's got a point. Maybe he didn't know who he was. But his servants knew who he was and what he had done for them. Yeah. But they knew. Yeah. And we don't know what Nabal knew about David. We don't know that. But he did ask the questions like, well, who is David? Who's this person in Israel you're talking about here? They may not know about it. But the servants sure did. And they could intervene there and help him out there. And Abigail showed her wisdom. She came in and did that. Yeah. as much as she tried, it's almost like Nabal was beyond saving. But what he's done, the Lord struck him dead because of it. Verse 53 talks about how a wife leaves to act their husband wisdom. But think about that both ways. Wife in here, help your husband out, show the wisdom, help us poor guys out when we act dumb, okay? We need it. And for us guys, be glad you got a wise wife that can help you out. All right. David and vengeance. Think about that a minute with us. What are we inclined to do when somebody does us wrong? Like that. I'll take care of it. I'll get it. That's what David did in this case here. He's going to go back and take vengeance on them. That's the way they treated me. Won't give us out, repay us this thing here. Take vengeance, strike back, hit them back, hit them hard. You're on 23:35. Vengeance is mine, I will take. And the slide points out here, that's not a New Testament passage. That goes way, way back. Even back, way back before David. God's going to avenge those. So even though we're inclined sometimes to avenge ourselves, the wisdom of Abigail come in here and stop David from doing something he shouldn't have done. How we treat those who treat us bad. But we overcome an evil, but overcome evil with, yeah, we all know that verse. Okay, that's it. Comments? Thoughts from anybody about these three chapters? Yeah. I would point out, it's on the slide, I didn't mention it, that Nabal's name means what? Worthless, okay? What his name means, that's what he said, that's what he is. It lives up to his name here or there. And then the other point I would make, if you didn't hear him, was that she didn't try to hide it from Nabal. She didn't tell him the night and withdraw. That ain't good. The next morning she did tell him. All right, she had done this behind his back and everything. She had gone out there and taking care of the situation. And she went and told him about it. He was back sober the next morning, so she could understand. Yeah. The question that begs, I don't see an answer to here, is why was Abigail married to him to start with? Okay, he was that kind of person. Why she married him to start with? I don't know. Customs were much different back then. Maybe she was given to him as a wife, or perhaps I don't know. But if he said that why she was ready to start with, the kind of guy he was, a good place to be, obviously. And what Randall's pointing out up here is plenty of scriptures that tell us to be careful with who we associate with. Okay, next time we get into, I think it's one chapter, it's 1 Samuel chapter 28, but we also, for the first time, get into 1 Chronicles. Look at the parallel passage. So you got 1 Chronicles 12, first part of it, and then 1 Samuel 28. Got a short lesson Sunday. We'll go back to these slides on the passages in the different periods. Talk about that a little bit. There's some time over there. So pretty short lesson Sunday morning. Okay, I think it's time for bell. Thank you.